The Philadelphia Eagles are going to break a 20-plus year drought for the NFC East. Also, I think there's going to be a career high for Jalen Hurts, and he's going to shut some doubters up. Those are just 2 of the 5 hot takes I want to give y'all today. So let's not waste no time. Let's get into it.
You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So it's that time of the year. We're so close to the NFL season.
Can you feel that?
But until it happens, we're going to be throwing out some hot takes, talking about what we think we're going to see in this 2025 season. So before we get into it, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. But let's not waste no time. Let's hop right into this. So Philadelphia Eagles fans have long time debated whether Carson Wentz was that guy, Jalen Hurts was that guy. But now there's really no conversation about it anymore. We have what we have. We have a Super Bowl MVP, but there's still a lot to be desired for some fans. I'm cool with what he brings to us. But I think this year is when you're going to see him actually shut these people up. People always want to see him go over 4,000 yards, 30 plus touchdowns. I think this is the year you can see it, not necessarily because that's going to be the key focus of what he wants to do or anything like that. I think it's just going to be out of necessity. I've talked about this in previous videos. I think that the Eagles understand that other teams know we are going to try and come at them with a dominant run game, and that's what they're going to try and focus on stopping. Jalen Hurts has not in his career yet went over 4,000 yards passing, and he has not went over 25 touchdowns, passing touchdowns. At least we all know he has a bunch of touchdowns, but I think this is the year it changes. I'm going to say maybe around 4,200 yards passing, and I think he can hit 28 passing touchdowns this year. I still think that he's going to be very efficient. I think that you're not going to see a bunch of turnovers. That's something that he's consistently worked on. But this year is when I think that it all kind of comes together for Jalen Hurts, and he's able to shut some people up.
That's what y'all want to see, huh?
Next is actually going to be about another team in the NFC East. I think that a lot of people are getting hyped over the return of Dak Prescott, the return of Micah Parsons, all that good stuff. You're seeing all these guys coming back. The Cowboys are excited. They got George Pickens. They think that he's the next coming of Antonio Brown or whatever they think that he is. At the end of the day, they are very hyped about this team, and they have a new head coach. I've heard a lot about culture and winning culture and stuff like that, but when the Eagles talk about culture, it ain't real. But anyways, at the end of the day, I think that it's going to take time for them to really kind of click when it comes to George Pickens and Dak Prescott. I think that there's going to be drama when it comes to George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. They can be all kumbaya right now, but that whole wide receiver one thing only really works if you have a strong system in place, a strong culture in place, which they do not. So I know that they keep talking about this coach is going to come in and bring a new culture, and he's going to, not going to take any, garbage, blah, blah, blah. They can say whatever they want. The problem is still there. The root problem is still there, and that's Jerry Jones. So my big, hot take, maybe, I don't even think is that much of a hot take. I don't think the Cowboys win more than 8 games this year. I think that there's going to be some type of implosion. I'm not hoping for injury. I want to kind of see them be bad at full health, because then you have no excuse. But even with Dak Prescott coming back, I'm sure he's going to put up his numbers. They have no running game. Your offensive line is inconsistent at best. Your defensive line, I know that they have high hopes for that defensive line. I've heard some people telling them that their defensive line's better than the Eagles. I don't really see how that happens. But all over that defense, you have a lot of inconsistencies. We'll see what happens with that secondary when they're fully healthy. I just don't think the Cowboys have it in them to really go over 8 games, or even to have the inner strength. When the Eagles went through a lot of stuff, it kind of brought us together even more. I don't think that will happen for the Dallas Cowboys. So hot take number 2, I'm going to say that they just don't go over 8 wins. Hot take number 3. All right, look, this is maybe not a hot take. I don't know. I think Eagles fans will probably agree with me. I think that other people might not. But I think that this is the year that we say Jalen Carter really ascend to a top 2 player. I think that last year, you can kind of talk about him as a top 5 guy at his position especially. You can talk about him kind of ascending, and you saw what he could be, especially on certain plays. You just saw the greatness out of him. I think he's a 3rd in snaps in the NFL. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know he's top 3. I know he had a lot of snaps last year, and I've heard some people talking about him kind of tailing off because of those snaps. I don't see that happening. I think that last year was a growth period for him. I think that now you're seeing Jordan Davis getting in great shape. Moro Ojomo's going to want to eat. You see all these guys that Nolan Smith's going to want to eat. You see all these guys on the defensive line really coming into their own, and I think that's only going to help Jalen Carter become more and more dominant. These guys have now played together for a couple of years. They understand each other, right? So I think that Jalen Carter takes the knowledge he got from last year, the wisdom he got from all those snaps last year, and understanding even more what Vic Fangio wants out of him, and I think that he's going to go crazy this year. I truly believe he's going to be an all-pro. I think after this year, there should be a conversation about Jalen Carter in the same way that there's conversations about Micah Parsons, about, name your favorite defensive player, TJ Watt. I think he's going to be in that conversation of one of the best disruptors in the NFL. So Jalen Carter, huge year incoming. All right, number 4, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. This one, it definitely is a hot take. I know a lot of people are not going to probably agree with me when I say this, but I think Devontae Smith will have a better year than A.J. Brown statistically. Statistically, I think that they're both going to be very, very impactful on this team. I think that they're very, very, very needed for this team, right? You can't have one without the other. I think that we've seen that before. They're both amazing players, and I'm not saying, Devontae Smith over A.J. Brown for life. I'm not saying that. I just think that this year, people are, again, going to key in on A.J. Brown. I think that we're going to have to switch at some point to focusing on our passing game. And once we do that, teams are going to switch and they're going to try and focus on A.J. Brown. And I think that that's going to help Devontae Smith a lot. I don't know what the tight end situation is going to be like full-time, at least. Dallas Goedert's great, right? We have those health issues. And then you have a bunch of guys that you brought in. So it's kind of a question of how much do you want to see from these other guys, right? And so it's going to be interesting there. Otherwise, I might have said he would have a breakout year or something like that, especially on a contract year and all of that. I have a gut feeling that this is Devontae's year. I think after that touchdown in the Super Bowl, winning in his hometown, just the offseason that he's had, I see a different type of hunger out of Devontae Smith. And again, you just look at necessity. I think that he's going to have to be big for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I don't want to, long drawn out, but I think he could have a career year for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think that Devontae Smith, another guy that top 10 borderline right now. You can make arguments from anywhere to 10, 15. I've seen him in most NFL fans and reporters rankings, but I think you can really make a conversation after this year, if he has the breakout year that I think he's going to have, that he's a top 10 guy, and that gives the Philadelphia Eagles 2 top 10 guys, which I've always kind of felt like they both are. It is what it is, though. But yeah, so I think that Devontae Smith has that huge year and kind of statistically overtakes what A.J. Brown's able to do this year. Love them both, though. Love them both. All right, so number five is going to be another NFC East team again. I think that this is going to maybe ruffle some feathers, no pun intended, we are the Eagles. I just don't see the Washington Commanders getting any better. I do feel like they're going to regress. Marshawn Lattimore, I feel like, was a miss. I feel like Deebo Samuels, we'll see what happens, but I don't think that it's going to have the impact on their offense that they think that he will. You're having a year older Zach Ertz, if he's even going to be their starting tight end. Their offensive line is pretty good. I can't hate on that. It's gotten better, but I still don't think it's one of the top teams. You now have to play even better teams, right? Your strength of schedule is going to be way harder than it was last year. People are now ready for Jaden Daniels. I mean, there's just so many things. Your head coach is infamous for regressing with teams. So there's just so many things with this that just make me feel like they're going to regress. Now, how far will that regression be? How far will that regression be? That's kind of the question. That's, will they still be a playoff team? I feel like they might sneak into the playoffs. I just don't see the Cowboys being that good. I obviously don't see the Giants being that good. So I do think it's a 2-team race between the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles, and I just don't think that the Washington Commanders really have what it takes to beat the Eagles. Kind of a funny sidebar. I did ChatGPT, asked them to give me a full prediction prediction of the season, and we swept the Washington Commanders in that prediction. It was kind of funny. I read through it all. If you guys want to hear that, let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll do a video about that. But either way, I think that we just have more. We have more weapons. We understand the Commanders a little bit more. We know what they want to do against us, and we are probably going to sweep them this year. So I don't think that they win the NFC East, which kind of ties in. I'll give you a 2-4 on number 5, which kind of ties into what I said earlier in this video. The Eagles can now break a 21-year-long streak, and that's by winning the NFC East back-to-back. So those are my top 5, kind of, I guess 6, because I gave you 2 for 5, but those are my top whatever hot takes. You tell me how sizzling they were. Were they really that hot of takes? I would love to know some of your hot takes for this upcoming season, and if you guys give me some good ones, I'll do a video kind of reacting to your hot takes and letting you know how realistic I think they may be. But other than that, man, I'm gonna get out of here. Please be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. I do want to thank God for the opportunity to talk to you guys again, man. It's always fun, always a blast to hear what you guys got to say. But other than that, y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly. And we are out here. Peace.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Yeah. Fly Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown, touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog. Or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, early time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco, thanks for tuning in.